The Incomparable Christ by Oswald Sanders isn't as well known as his books on leadership, but it should be. Sanders takes the reader on a journey to know and understand the Creator and Savior in a way that is informative, powerful, and I would even say comforting for those who trust in Jesus as the Savior of their lives. There's something special about walking through a book on the life of Jesus, examining the Bible's teaching of this one who created the world, sustains the world, and is the Savior of the world. Who is this man who would be rejected by his own people and yet still offer himself on the cross to suffer and die for them? To sum up Sanders' opinion of Jesus, this man is like no one else. He is unique in glory. Sanders' book is really a theology book on the topic of Christology, the study of Christ. But it's never a dry or dull look at Christ. This is not a straightforward account of just the facts of Jesus' life and who he is as a person, but the reader is drawn into a spirit of worship and praise over who Jesus is and what Jesus has done. In a picture of Jesus that I found to be thorough, as he hit on topics like the prayer life of Jesus or the prophetic ministry of Jesus that I would not have considered if I wrote a book myself like The Incomparable Christ. My only complaint is a relatively minor one, and that is that Sanders does from time to time branch off into some speculation on Jesus' life that is not based on teaching found in the Bible, especially in his chapters on the childhood and youth of Jesus. He writes information on Jesus' years before his ministry that are more speculative than they are biblical. Nothing in the book, I would say, is contrary to the Bible, but at the same time, it's not from the Bible. There's still so much to love in The Incomparable Christ. Some of my favorite points were the attention that Sanders drew toward the simple manner of Jesus' teaching. Jesus didn't need to adopt theological jargon to get his point across, but he just spoke with the simple language of everyday life. I also loved Sanders' use of historical quotes on Jesus, like one by Webster, the Webster who gave us the dictionary. A Unitarian minister opposite him responded, "Mr. Webster, can you comprehend how Jesus Christ could be both God and man?" "No, sir, I cannot understand it," replied Webster, "and I would be ashamed to acknowledge him as my Savior if I could comprehend it. He could be no greater than myself, and such is my conviction of accountability to God, my sense of sinfulness before him, and my knowledge of my own incapacity to recover myself, that I feel I need a superhuman Savior." And Sanders really presents us with an image throughout his book from beginning to end of a superhuman, divine, incomparable Savior. And my favorite quote that he brings out is one by John the Golden Mouth. "I do not think of Christ as God alone or man alone, but both together. For I know he was hungry, and I know that with 5 loaves he fed 5,000. I know he was thirsty, and I know that he turned the water into wine. I know he was carried in a ship, and I know that he walked on the sea. I know that he died, and I know that he raised the dead. I know he was set before Pilate, and I know that he sits with the Father on his throne. I know that he was worshipped by angels, and I know that he was stoned by the Jews. And truly some of these I ascribe to the human and others to the divine nature. For by this reason he is said to have been both God and man." Any Christian who wants to know their Savior better, with a deeper level of intimacy, would be wise to read through J. Oswald Sanders' book on Jesus. And anyone who has questions about who Jesus is, about what the Bible really says about him, Sanders gives us an accurate and powerful portrayal of Jesus Christ, both God and man, in The Incomparable Christ.